Welcome to the Corner Office podcast. I am back. It's been a little bit of hiatus, but I finally found the right guest to come back on here and start this podcast up. So we're back, baby, like Kid Leroy. I'm here with a very special guest today. His name is Charles. Hi, Charles. How you doing? Is it Charles or Carlos? Why don't you start by telling me that, and then we're going to talk about your company.
Yeah. Well, technically, it's Carlos, right? That's my name, but I go by Charles when it comes to the company because we basically translate the name to English, right? So my full name is Carlos Mora, which if you translate it to English, it would be Charles, and then Mora means Blackberry, and so the coffee brand
really?
So the coffee brand is Charles and Blackberry. For my name in Spanish, translating to English.
Okay, so we got Charles and Blackberry Coffee in the house. And, honestly, it's a pleasure having you. I've been following you guys on social media since we met a few weeks ago. And, you guys got a cool brand. And it feels like it's not just all about the coffee. It's like a lifestyle that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea just started with me trying to give gift to people, and I have another business. And every time I kind of finish a deal or, whatever business I was doing, I was giving a gift.
Okay.
But I wanted to make it so it wasn't as expensive and more affordable and something that people wanted to drink more of, In this case, everyone drinks coffee, but not everyone drinks alcohol, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah.
So anyway, we wanted to make it, or the brand I wanted to make it so it's more laid back, easygoing. Not the typical coffee brand that you see that it's always like the coffee beans and then how to roast the coffee. But this is more like an experience, yeah.
So you think like coffee was like something you were really drawn into, or it was just one thing that you were giving your clients and you decided, why don't I like start my own business?
So it's so funny. It's so funny because I never drink coffee before,
You didn't drink coffee?
As a matter of fact, I was always feeling the anxiety. Every time I had a cup of coffee, I just was shaking, right? So I never really liked coffee, but, I started doing it because of my clients. I wanted to give a gift, and then I started giving coffee, and soon enough, I started drinking coffee more often because I wanted to see what I was given to clients, right? And so then I started tasting more cups, and then I was like, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm getting better at this. I'm not getting as anxious anymore, and then I build up to that.
Yeah. So
you
you wouldn't say like now you're a coffee snob?
No, I mean, I'm getting a little bit. I'd say a lot of people call coffee nerds, but. I am not there yet. I want to be a coffee nerd,
Okay.
I'm learning as I go, but yeah, I'm not either a coffee snob.
Yeah, me neither. Like, coffee is for me was one of those things I really enjoy. Like, there's nothing better than waking up and having a nice cup of coffee, right? Especially like for me, like when I'm not in a rush, I enjoy it. Like if I'm sitting down outside, on a summer morning, that's the best. But I don't die for it. There's people like my wife; she can't function without coffie.
And that's the funny part of coffee. It at the beginning, if you're not into coffee at all, you just either get it as fast as you can because you need that extra boost in the morning, right? But when we start getting into it, then you start appreciating every minute of it, right? Yeah. So just the smell of it, like we were grinding coffee just now.
Yeah.
And just the smell of it, and you're like, wow, this is really cool. So what is next? And then so you start learning how to, make different type of coffees as you go. I'm into espresso now, like quite a bit.
Okay.
And ironically, that's the one I couldn't drink before. So now I'm drinking that every time because I like the taste of it.
Okay. And I read like you're from Colombia. So how do you find the coffee culture in Colombia differs from North America?
Being Colombian, here's the thing. In Colombia, we didn't drink good coffee for a long time, right? So they didn't teach us how to appreciate our coffee. So
really,
they will make coffee. They will actually send the best coffee overseas, right? But we'll always will be with the leftovers. And
Okay.
for us, that was the norm. You know, no one actually taught us how to drink a better coffee, or even the word specialty coffee wasn't a thing in Colombia for a long time, right? So up until, you know, recently, that's starting to become like something more like the
Really?
norm. So coffee culture in Colombia, it was lagging for a while, and then now it's just becoming like crazy. You know, it's like almost like a religion, right? But it's funny, right? We produce a lot of coffee, but for a long time we were not taught how to drink coffee. You know.
That's so strange. I thought for sure it would be like you know, European culture, like the coffee is a big thing, right? So I thought because Colombia is big producer of coffee,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
it's up. I thought it would be up there.
Yeah. So the funny part is that you know, Colombia produces quite a bit of coffee, but you know, it's the best quality. You know, is well known for the best quality. But again, so the regular Colombian will never drink the best coffee. They will always get whatever was you know, produce the leftover. We always say that, right?
Okay.
Or pasilla, you know, something that it was not that
Not the perfect stuff.
yeah, no, the quality wasn't there. So, and then we just start putting sugar in it. So I remember being a kid, just drinking coffee and just putting sugar, and that for me that was it, you know. And when I moved to Canada, I remember people were drinking black coffee, but a lot of it, you know.
Yeah.
And so that for me was very strange, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, so I would say
That's interesting.
I would say it's interesting how it developed, like the history of coffee in that country, and then now we're getting way better. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your company. You have a couple other co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, tell me the idea. I mean, you gave us a little bit about that, but how did you guys get together and co-found the company?
So, you know, as I explained, the name Charles and Blackberry is it was originally made after my name. But then one of my best friends, his name is Carlos as well, and he's from Montreal, right? And then one day we were just talking, and I said, "Hey man, I think I'm gonna create this company, and the names will be like Charles and Blackberry." He just laughed. He's like, "Why?" And then I explained it, and he's like, "You know what? I might be part of it. I want to be part of it." And his name is Carlos, so it's like it kind of works, right? And then my sister, she's really good with numbers, so she's finance lady. You know, she knows a lot.
So that's your sister.
It's my sister.
Oh, okay.
So then I brought up the idea because I knew that I was gonna need her for all the back end of you know, the numbers and stuff like that, you know. And then I brought it up, and she's like, "What's the name of the coffee?" And then she's like, "Actually, I kind of like it. It has a good rhyme." So obviously it's my sister, so she has the same last name. So it worked because it's Charles and Blackberry. So Charles for both of us, I guess, and then Blackberry will be my sister, which also will be me, right? So like, it just happened to be. And then now we're three people, three of us doing this, and we have some sort of association with the name, which is awesome. It's just not about me anymore.
Good for you guys. Like I said from the beginning, I'm not a coffee nerd, so walk me through the process of how we go from coffee plant or fruit to what we're drinking, we're about to drink, and I'm very excited about to drink.
Yeah, so it's a long process, man. Like that's the beauty of coffee, is that there is so many players along the line that make this, you know, the coffee and what we drink. So the idea of coffee, or the crazy part of coffee, is that we don't actually drink the fruit or the cherry that it is the coffee. We are drinking just the seed, right? And if you think about it, so many people drink this in the morning. So you're thinking like, wow, is this for real, right? And then you don't understand it until you go back to the roots, right? You go back to where they produce it. So it all starts with the farms, you know, people that grow the coffee. They have a lot of guys working on them big farms, right? And they take a lot of time to harvest it, to take it, to just, you know, choose the right beans just to make it so perfect, right? And that takes a lot of time. And then they do it manually. This is a process that takes forever, right? And then once they get that product all sorted out, then they just send it to a different process. Like they dry the coffee, or they do it and the natural way. So there's different ways to do it, right? They just leave it there for a while, naturally, or they use a different. It's like big spaces where they just leave the coffee to dry, and then in the process, the fermentation and all these flavors start just getting out of the seeds, and so after that, it takes days to do that, and then they just go to the roasting process, right? And I'm just summarize it,
Yeah, this is a summary. Yeah.
So and then just roasting itself is just crazy too, right? So they have this roasting chefs or masters that know all about
Really?
Roasting, and it's so complex because there's a lot of things to learn about it. There's different machines, there's different softwares, and now technology is coming really strong, right? And so you can make any type of coffee, and then the way you roast your coffee is also going to determine the flavor of your coffee, and among other things, right? Because but roasting itself is so complex, and just if you tweak something a little bit, that might make the coffee amazing, or it could be like really, really bad, depending on you. Right?
Yeah. So you think like the beans itself it plays more a factor in the flavor, or roasting it, or equal?
Everything. It's
Everything.
Yeah, everything, because the quality of the bean also depends on where you grow it, right? And if you grow it in a high altitude or lower altitude, so that also has an impact on it. The roasting itself, again, is crazy as well. That will have a huge impact, whether you do a dark roast or a light roast or medium rye. At the end of the day, all these factors will play a huge role in how the coffee is going to taste. So I don't know if you drink coffee every day, but let me ask you. So how do you like your coffee, and why would you think that that's good for you?
I'm about to embarrass myself. I mean, I'm not a double guy, so at least I ain't that bad. But I'm not. I like if I had to pick, I would say a coffee latte.
Okay.
Maybe an extra shot of espresso in there.
There you go.
I'm not a sugar guy in my coffee though.
Okay.
That's how I take my coffee.
So see, like, there's a lot. You said double, so that's the culture basically, right? For us,
That's the culture here. Yeah.
Tim Hortons, typical Tim Hortons answer, or a French vanilla. That was basically
the worst.
It's
So
like
bad.
so much sugar, and that's honestly, when I moved here, when I tried the French vanilla, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I'm gonna drink this every day. You know what I mean? And I was addicted to French vanilla forever until, I don't know, later on, I learned how much sugar that has, right? So
Crazy amounts.
yeah. So going back to I even forgot what the question was.
You asked me like how do I like my coffee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because coffee is so subjective, you could tell me that you like this coffee that you try from this company, and then another person will try and you say it's amazing. Another person will try and say like, this is absolutely shit. You know what I mean? So it's completely subjective. So just to put it in perspective, there is it's a spectrum, right? So there's coffee that is super acid, and then there's coffee that's super bitter on the other end, and depending how you roast it as well is how it's gonna taste at the very end. And the way I see it is like, just put an apple in one end, and then put a tire, like a tire, like for a car,
Okay.
And then if it's very, very roasted, like dark roast, it's gonna taste more like
Okay.
like a tire,
Okay.
But if you go on the other end, it's gonna taste more like an apple, like very like acid,
Acidic, tart.
acidic. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So that in between, you have all these different flavors, but a good coffee, quote unquote, is the one that has a good balance, right, between those two flavors.
Okay.
And I met people that love the tire coffee, which is crazy to think about, but they love that strong black coffee, and that for them they do it, and there's other people that really love just the acidity, and then so they go for the fruity type of notes, and they taste like more like tea, in my opinion.
Yeah. I actually heard there's a lot of like health benefits in coffee.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of controversy on whether coffee is good for you or not, but I honestly don't know much about benefits to be.
I've read that like it can help lower diabetes, type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
And like Alzheimer's and stuff like diseases like that, life-threatening diseases.
Okay.
So it has antioxidants too.
That one, yes, I heard that about that one. But to be honest with you, on the health part of the coffee, I haven't dig into so
Okay.
much.
Okay.
But you could tell me right now.
Like, well, that's what I read, and but on the flip side, it is addicting, and like people have withdrawals. Not me, so like I'm probably one of the rare people that if I have a cup of coffee, I don't feel anything. I can have a cup of coffee while sleeping. Can you, or is that just me?
It's so crazy to say that because I will drink at least 4 or 5 cups of coffee, and probably 2 of them I do it at the end of the day, towards the end, and I won't be able to sleep, but I just love it, and it's addictive. Like you get
you withdrawals, and this is delicious, and I'm not being paid to say this, but I don't really even drink espresso, so this is really nice. And what am I drinking right now?
Okay, so we do have 4 different type of coffees so far. We're trying to get more, but the one you're drinking is a blend. It's a blend between a Colombian and a Brazilian coffee. And so this one is a darker roast, medium to darker roast, and so you will taste a little bit more of the caramel and then the chocolate in it, as opposed to drink maybe something that is more like for drip coffee. I don't know if you can see this, but okay. So this one is the other one that we have, but this is the opposite. Right. Remember I told you.
Yeah. The apple.
Yeah, the apple and the tire. So, but just a parenthesis here. None of our coffees are tired taste like. So.
Okay. Yeah.
But this one is in between. It's like well balanced, I'd say. But then we also have fruity coffees, right? We have one from Ethiopia, and then we have another one from Colombia as well.
So it's not all Colombian coffee.
It's not all Colombian. So Ethiopian, Colombian, and a blend between Colombian and Brazilian coffee. Which one is my favorite? I would say the one you're drinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this your bestseller, your most popular product?
No, it's not. The bestseller is this guy here, As Never. Okay. But let me explain to you what are the names of the coffees, because this is another part of the story, right? So when we were brainstorming with my buddy, with Carlos, and we just realized that it was about our names and my sister's name. He was like, why don't we just make every coffee famous Charles, and then name it after them, So we were like, okay, well, actually that's pretty cool idea, like, and he's like, but there's plenty of Charles that are famous, so just name one, Charles Darwin.
Yeah,
right?
okay, that was the only one I know.
So I mean, that alone was like, bro, this is gonna be our first coffee, Charles Darwin, and it's gonna somehow mimic the evolution of coffee, and then we
That's
just
cool.
brainstorming, how the other coffees will be named, and then we got Charles Bukowski, and then Charles Asnever, a writer and a singer, and then Charles Bronson. So now I wanted to name a coffee after Charles Manson, but then the controversy just came into it. And then I don't know if I could do it, or if I have more sales, or people will just destroy our brand.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's worth trying.
You know what? Like controversial stuff, it will sell.
I don't know. But I thought that would be a cool name as well. It's a killer coffee, So
nice.
And but yeah, that's the story of the names. And it's just fun because now we have a lineup of famous Charles that we could. Some people ask if we could do Charles Barkley, and like maybe we'll do it. But here's the thing: we cannot say the whole name, right? Because then otherwise they go after us, right? If we say Charles Barkley, so now we just call it the Barkley or the Darwin or the Bukowski.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's a good way to distinguish it. And funny enough, our bestseller sells a lot in Montreal because there's a lot of French people that know Charles Asnever.
Okay.
So they actually recognize the coffee right away, So
okay. And now you are based in Montreal, or would you say you're based in Ottawa?
Yeah. So because at the very beginning we didn't have any knowledge about coffee, right? So it was really hard for us to learn about it. So we went through. Shout out actually for Canadian Roasting Society. They are really good at teaching the basics of coffee, and not just the basics. They bring a lot of coffee from a lot of farms. So we start doing the whole process with them, and they're based in Montreal. So what they do is like they help you bringing the coffee. They help you cupping the coffee, and they help you roasted the coffee, right? So and then we start a long process with them and learning all the principles. But it's based in Montreal, right? But then we bring it to Ottawa as well, and so sell it here as well.
Gotcha. So like, I'm curious. So like, as an entrepreneur myself, like, what was that feeling of getting your first sale or first placement? And I don't know. Maybe you could tell me a little bit more about where you sell. Like, give me some context.
So it's crazy because the first ever sale we got was from a guy whose dad worked at at Blackberry, the mobile company, right? So he reached out to us and he's like, yo, by the way, my dad worked at Blackberry. And so we're looking at one of your ads, and then we were so curious about it. So we decided to buy one of your coffees, and then that was our first sale ever. And then so we went, we saw it on our website, first purchase, and it was for this guy. And it was so cool because the guy asked if we had merchandise and shirts and stuff like that. And I was like, no, we don't, but let's just say yes. And then just ask the guy what we wanted to put in the t-shirt. And then we end up like sending all this, and it was all awesome. I love the story. It kind of make us feel that we were going the right direction.
Yeah. So are you guys doing like mostly like business to business or direct to consumer?
Well, right now it's a little bit of everything, right?
Okay.
So we do. So the idea again behind the coffee was to give it to clients. Again, I do have another business, and I do have other colleagues that give gifts at the end of every deal, if you will.
Yeah.
And then so we start doing it through them. So they were buying our coffee, and that way. But we also have a lot of sales online. So that this is basically it's an online store right now, right?
Yeah.
And then we're trying to sell it to coffee shops as well. And then we got two very big contracts. So one is with the mayor in Montreal. I don't know if I can even say this because I don't know if I'm allowed, but the mayor in Montreal, she tried our coffee. She loved it. And there was a big brand that they were purchasing before, and then they decided to drop it and buy our coffee. That was our first contract. And we celebrated that one like if it was like no tomorrow, right? So they purchase coffee every month from us.
You got to celebrate those wins.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between like when you're running your own company and your own business, that just, it feels so personal, right? When you get a win like that, it's different if you're working for somebody else. It's just, there's no comparison, would you say?
I mean, there's nothing more satisfying that to know that your own product is being sold, and then you're like, okay, I don't know, it just started from scratch. Now we have something feasible, and then we finally made a sale, let alone getting a contract, right? So that for us was like a win, and that was in Montreal. So shout out to Montreal,
No, I feel like the coffee scene there is probably stronger than it is in Ottawa.
So Ottawa is such a hard market to break into, right? I found that in Ottawa, most of the people liked very strong coffee, Italian type of coffee. And they could kill me right now, all the time. But they drink a very strong coffee. It's a little bit more into the darker zone, right? So, whereas in Montreal, you see a little bit more varieties. And don't get me wrong, there's a big players in Ottawa, and coffee culture has grown so much in Ottawa. As a matter of fact, we have other companies that have amazing coffee, specialty coffee, right? So, but yes, Montreal has way more experience. I'd say the culture is way bigger. You see coffee shops every single corner, right? So and crazy coffee shops, not just the little typical coffee shop. No, it's always which one is more artsy than the other one, which one is more innovative, and I love that about Montreal,
Yeah. I've never used a coffee place as a spot, like hang out or meet clients. But after talking to you and trying this coffee, it's more of a social thing as well.
So one of the things I envision, like I want to make, when I open a shop eventually, right? That's the long-term goal. But aside of the money, yes, don't get me wrong, we wanted to always make money. I want a coffee shop to be super cool, you know, like something that people are like, oh, let's go to Charles and Blackberry, because maybe, yes, we want to have a coffee, but we just want to hang out there, you know, and so trying to get to that, you know, level, you know, it takes a lot. And that's the vision, you know, make it very creative, make it like a lifestyle, you know.
Yeah. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you go to a coffee shop and then you just, yes, you drink coffee, but you want to enjoy your stay there, you know. So hopefully we can do that in the future. We'll see.
That's awesome. All right, let's take a 2-second breather, maybe refill our coffee, and we'll get back to chatting a bit more.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
All right, so we're back, and once again, Charles, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really nice to chat with you about your brand and learn about a bit more about coffee. Honestly, maybe you could tell me more about how you source your products, because I feel like that's interesting, and as where you're from, right? So yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things. Going back again to Canadian Roasting Society, they play a big role in our sourcing, because they're the ones who have the experience. And when we started, honestly, we just didn't know anything, right? So we decided to go through them. They already have the farms selected in Colombia, Colombia, Brazil, Ethiopia. So they provide us with the beans, right, at the very beginning, and then we went there. We learned the process through them, and we were very lucky that they had really good quality coffee. You know, I tried to do it myself. So I went to Colombia. I went to Quindío, which is part of the coffee belt.
Okay.
Is a department. We call it the department in Colombia. And then we went there, and I tried to get the best coffee of what I thought it was the best coffee, right? And I brought it up here, and I brought it to the Canadian Roasting Society. And they were like, bro, this is shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like, where do you get this from? I'm like, I don't know. I was asking about this farm, and then they were like, no, man, they have so many deficiencies. This is not good. And then I started learning like what deficiencies were, you know, like what's going on. Like, and then it turns out that when you get a coffee that has deficiencies, is basically when there is a little insect or a little, you know, things that go inside of the coffee, and that makes it not as drinkable or like as good, right? Taste, yeah. So, and then among other things, but then they take those beans, they don't care about it, they still take them, and then just, you know, bring it. And then the way you hide those deficiencies is by burning it more, like roasting it a little bit more, like darker. Okay. So it makes the taste of the coffee not so good. So I learned that by bringing bad coffee, you know. So then Canadian Roasting Society was like, you know what, we got you. We got the sources, we got the farms. Why don't we do it with them? And then we were like, you know, be my guest, you know. Then in another solo trip, I went to Colombia, and I went to different farms just to learn more about it. And then the fascinating part of it is that depending on where you are at the altitude of where the farm is, the quality of the coffee, or the taste of the coffee will differ, right? And so we went to this farm, and then they literally show us everything. And the guy was like, you know, long ago we were not considered a farm because our altitude was so low that we're not considered really, really good coffee. But over time they start, you know, producing better coffee, and then I brought it here. It was a farm, very tiny farm, family oriented kind of thing. We brought those beans, and amazingly enough, they taste really good, you know. You know, there's a lot of places in Colombia. You can name a lot of cities, you know, but I'd say the coffee belt is the most well known, which is a bunch of departments that are together where they produce the amount of coffee. So majority, I'd say 90% of our coffee comes from there.
Those are small cities.
Yeah, they're smaller cities compared to, I don't know, say Bogota or like Medellin,
Yeah. So that they don't produce coffee there really.
and Bogota,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. As far as I know,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
know.
It's a more rural stuff.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Because weather-wise, Bogota is not. It's not good for coffee.
You need like tropical.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like humid places.
Okay.
And I think Bogota is too high. It's
Okay.
really high. Like it's 2,600 meters
Okay.
above sea level. So that it's not good for
Not
coffee.
good. Okay.
And so, but yeah, so. To name different places, Tolima, Huila. We also have coffee from Risaralda, Huila, Pereira. But again, I could be telling you this, and then you're probably like, "Oh, what are these places?" You know what I mean? Like, unless
No,
you
I'm gonna go
there.
home and Google them.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's so many farms over there.
Okay.
There's so much coffee in Colombia. It's crazy, and so many flavors. You get lost in so many options.
So right now you're working directly with these farms.
Yeah. Well, we have the broker, which is
Got you.
this Canadian Roasting Society. Again, shout out to those guys. They're
They're
pretty
really
cool.
good. It
Yeah.
seems like they put you on.
Yeah. And so what's happening right now for us to learn actually the whole thing is that we hire someone. It's a new hire actually in our team, and she's an expert in all this stuff. She knows everything. And then she's like, you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna go there and we're gonna do it ourselves. So that way we don't have to use a broker. But that process is gonna be fun. Everything that is new to me is like, oh man, it's an adventure. We're gonna go there, we're gonna get our hands dirty. Probably I'm gonna be, growing and harvesting all the coffee, and that would be so awesome.
That'd be so cool. The content you can do from that, unreal.
The Charles Darwin story that I told you about, right? So like the evolution of coffee. I reach out to this videographer and I told him the idea. What if we do something about evolution of coffee and we feature Charles Darwin from Colombia, or the coffee Charles Darwin? And he's like, yo, that's such a good idea, right? And so I'm like, yeah, what if we just have this little plant just growing, and then all of a sudden it's just, becoming this massive plant, and then boom, you take the bean, put it in a cup of coffee, you drink it, and then you just kind of rewind the whole thing to the evolution of it and how it just became, a coffee.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah, the guy was like, bro, this is such a good idea. Well, why don't we? He was like, when are we gonna go? Like tomorrow to Colombia? I said, no, I was just thinking that, And he's like, well, you know what? I'm down. So whenever you want to go to Colombia, just pay me the tickets and my stay, and I'll do it. And I'm like, a deal. Like, let's do it. So it's in the process of.
Okay, so you have done it. Okay, cool. No, because I seen on your page that the adventure is a big part of the story and the brand. So I'm sure you got something for me in terms of a story.
So there's a lot of stories, but I think two in particular. So the first one is I pitched this idea of daring people to do something, trick or dare, something like that. But this time I switch it to the world like coffee or dare, dare you to do something. And then my sister's like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to ask random people. I said like coffee or dare, and then see if they want to do something crazy, right? So she's like, okay, what's the first idea? I don't know. Let's just jump off of a plane and then ask random person if they want to do that. If they say no, then we'll just give them a bag of coffee, so they still win. But if they say there, then we just take them somewhere, right? And she's like, well, that's crazy, but I don't know if you can pull it. Like that's I don't know, going in a plane and that's I don't know if that's possible. And I was like, you know what? I just need to find the right person to do it, right? And in the process, I was playing soccer and then I torn my Achilles. So like when I was creating the brand and all this stuff, I torn my Achilles. So I couldn't walk for like 10 months, right? So I was in rehab. I was doing physio. Man. It was a nightmare. I was also going through a bad breakup, one of those that destroy you, right? And then I was like just in my bed sitting there, like, oh fuck, man, I cannot even walk. But I still have this idea of jumping off a plane. And I saw a video on Instagram. I think it was this videographer from England. And I was like, bro, this is really cool. This guy is really good, man. Like maybe he will help me, right? But he's in England and I'm here, so I don't know. So I just sent him a message, and And he replied to me, he's like, hey man, yeah, I like your idea, but I'm in the UK, so I don't know, maybe later, I don't know, we'll see, right? And I'm like, okay, whatever, so be it. And then, but he asked me something like, do you happen to have family in Chicago? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, yeah, my sister lives in Chicago, And he's like, well, I'm going to go to Chicago for like a couple of weeks. So if you want to meet up there, maybe we can do it there. And I'm like, no way. Actually, like, he's like, yeah. So go on this date and then we'll try to make it. I'm like, bro, okay, what am I going to do? And then so I contact my sister. I was like, hey, listen, I need to go to Chicago. And she's like, how are you going to go to Chicago? You can't because you torn your Achilles, you're in crutches. I'm like, I mean, I could go there, but also I was like, broke as fuck at that time.
Okay.
I was spending so much money doing all this stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive to Chicago.
Which foot was it?
With crutches. Which one was it?
It was the right one.
The right one. The right one.
Could you step on a gas pedal?
Well, so what I just jumped in the car. I put my seat all the way back and I started pressing it with the left one, and I learned how to do it, how to drive good enough. For a week I was taking my friends, okay, let me see if I can do this. And then, bro, I learned it so fast. Your brain is how crazy your brain just connects the dots, right? And then I was like, okay, I'm going. So bro, I drove all the way from here to Chicago on my crutches just to meet this guy who's going to make this video. But guess what happened? So I told my sister, like, okay, this is the idea. We're jumping off a plane. And so I'm going to pay the skydivers, whatever amount is. And my sister goes like, well, your cousin, she's been living here for a year. So yeah, I was like, yeah, she just moved here. He said, yeah. Well, her boyfriend is a skydiver. How do you call this guy?
Like an instructor?
Instructor, yeah. And I'm like, no way. Like, he said, yeah, why don't you reach out to the guy? He's probably jumping right now. And then I just reach out to the guys like, hey, man, this is the idea. This is what we're going to do. The videographer's here. And he's like, okay, well, let's do it, man. I don't care. We're not going to charge you. Just pay me the jump and the gas. And I'm like, oh, but I want to be the one jumping as well. But I asked him, like, can I jump? And he's like, there's absolutely no chance you will do it because, you have your foot, like, you can't land, and I'm like, oh, damn it. So then my cousin was like, well, I'll do it. So why don't we make that happen? I'm like, okay, well, we'll pretend you are a random person because at the time we just didn't know how to do it. And then she's like, okay, sure, whatever. And it was the most scripted video in the fucking. It was terrible. The acting part was terrible.
You gotta watch this.
But the actual video is amazing. So I cut it to the point that it just shows when she's going to the plane, and then the guy from the UK, Max, by the way, he's an amazing videographer. We can give him a shout out.
Absolutely.
The guy was afraid of heights, and he still went on the plane, sit with the whole crew. They let him just stay in the plane while making the whole video. And the instructors just make the other part when you jump, and then just have the camera and all this stuff, right? And then I wasn't expecting how good the video was going to be, and that was our first ever video, like our first ad,
Yeah.
And then in the video you could see me. I still have a boot on, and Max, he cut the piece of the video just so people wouldn't notice it. But if you actually look at the video, I am wearing the cast, the special boot, that they give you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't walk very well. So I told Max, hey, when you're shooting this part, could you do it quick? Because I am in so much pain because I was still learning how to walk and it was painful. And I'm like talking to my cousins, like, so coffee or there, and I could feel the pain and my foot, but then I was like, whatever, let's do it.
The adrenaline,
Yeah, and it was cool.
So you're a thrill seeker.
I would say so. I love traveling. I moved to Canada when I was 18. I was turning 18 actually, and I moved because I was in love. There was this girl I was dating.
Oh, it wasn't your family?
No, I came along, so it was a girl.
Okay.
And then I came after her, and then ever since that, I've been just going around, like, doing different stuff and seeking adventure. That's why not? I mean, what else?
Yeah. Do you miss Colombia?
Of course, I feel like you're always gonna miss that part of your life, you know, like your family, your friends, the vibe of Colombia. I don't know if you guys been in Colombia.
I want to go,
Okay, so
but I gotta go with you though.
so Colombia has become one of the most popular places to go, and that's, you know, mainly because security wise the country improved so much compared to when I was a kid. You know, when I was a kid, you couldn't even travel between cities and without getting kidnapped or something like that, right? But now it's
a lot better.
So much better, right? And then so it's so popular, people are just going. I had friends that travel with me, and after that trip, they're like, "Yo, we're coming back," and then they just tell their friends, and then their friends end up going, and I refer to other people to help them just going around, and so.
You're like also a tour guide, I guess.
I was a tour guide, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really? Okay.
In Calgary when.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so are you from like Bogota?
I'm from Bogota.
Okay.
So they call us rolos, and that's the term from people from Bogota. And yeah, I mean, we are not. You know, they say that we're not as fun as the rest of the country. You know, like. We are more sober in general. That's why they say, you know. But but I don't think so. I think we're pretty cool.
So if I had like 1 week, where would I go in Colombia?
Don't go to Bogota.
No.
go to Medellin. Medellin
That's
or
better.
Cartagena, or I would say go to the coffee belt where you see
Where
all
you
the
source.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because Colombia, and there's so many places. Don't get me wrong. Colombia, there's so many places you can go, but if you want to experience something a bit different, more culture, I would say just go to the coffee belt or even the south. You know, you can go to places like Nariño. You know, you can go to the Amazon as well, and then you can still see Colombia, right? And it's a different, or the Pacific. You know, those places people don't really talk about, and they're cool.
I like off the beaten path kind of adventure.
Okay.
I'm not a huge like sightseeing touristy stuff. I want to eat and feel the way a local eats and feels. Yeah, you know.
And that's you know, at the end of the day, that's when I was gonna make you learn more stuff about the culture.
Yeah.
Because if you go to a resort, then you just stay there, and then you just eat whatever they give you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And I feel like you just feel like you're here, except the weather's better. You know? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I never traveled my country.
Oh no.
No, until I was like 28, because I was traveling somewhere else, and then I just started dating this girl. She was from Canada, and then she's like, why don't we go to Colombia? Like, why don't we travel your country? I'm like, you know what? Like, sure, let's go. At that point, I've only traveled like to Cartagena when I was a kid. You know, like I don't remember much about it. But then when we went with her, we went to all these places. So we went to Cartagena, we went to Medellin, we went to Cali, we went to the coffee belt. We did all this. It was like almost like a month traveling, right? So
yeah. Wow.
It changed my life. You know?
Wow. Relating that to like your business, I mean, I'm sure you've drawn some like inspiration from your experiences traveling. You seem like a world traveler kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'd say thing. Awesome. You know, funny enough, the guide that took us around in the coffee belt, he was such a generous, humble person, and he was part of a coffee family. You know, his family had a farm, and he was explaining to me the whole process. And at that time, I was just listening, right? I didn't know much about it. And then he was like, you know what the problem is? He just said to me, and I said, no, I don't really know what the problem is. Like, the problem is like people like you know, and don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying anything wrong. I was like, okay, no worries. People like you go somewhere else, right? And then they never come back, or they come back and they take so much from the country and then they don't bring it back to the community, right? I'm like, oh, wow. And that's one of the things I want to change, right? It's like, okay, if I ever make a company, right? If I ever do something on my own, especially about coffee, I want to bring it back to them, right? Because at the end of the day, they do so much for the industry. So the idea behind our brand is also bring it back to that community, right? So if we're making money, they're also making money, right? And bring it back my own culture and learning so much about that. So.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I want to finish off by talking a little bit about your roles, because you told us your sister was more the finance back end.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, from what I see, you're more the front facing. Charles, what was the other Charles do?
So my sister was brought in because she was the finance person, and she's super smart. And when it comes, she works as a financial analyst in a company in Colombia. So she actually builds restaurants from scratch to zero, from zero to like whatever, And then she's the one that runs the numbers, and she tells if the business is feasible or not, right? So she's a fundamental part of the business, because we don't have to worry about that, She just tells us if we're making money or not. Simple as that, right? My friend Carlos, he called himself like a nerd. He studied, what was it, engineer?
He's a computer guy?
I think so, yeah. He looks like and he called himself like super nerdy, so he wanted to take over on the roasting part of it. The chemistry involved in the coffee, and so we let him do that. He's the one who's gonna is creating the flavors, and learning the curves and all this stuff. That's kind of fun, but at the end of the day, someone has to do it, and he's doing it, right?
Yeah.
And then me, yes, I guess I am the face of the brand. Not that I wanted to be the face of the brand; it just happened to be, right? Like I just start making videos, and then just happened to be, and so marketing, social media, I guess. Doing this podcast, for instance. Yeah. I asked them if they wanted to join, and they're like, fuck it. So like, all right, I'll sit down, and then I'll talk to you.
Nah, that's cool.
Yeah. Talking about that, like I was gonna tell you one more adventure.
I'd love to hear that.
If I could tell you that. So there was this trip. I met this guy at the gym. By the way, he's also in one of our videos. His name is Jack. The Instagram. I don't know. Am I supposed to do this or what?
Yeah. We'll pull it up.
Okay, so one day we were just having a drink, and then he was like, "Hey man, do you want to go somewhere? Travel somewhere?"
Is that how you travel? It's just like, I want to go.
Yeah. So
I just go?
Yeah. And he's like, what if we go to Morocco? I have this trip in like a week or so. And then you want to come over and I come with? I'm like, bro, I would really have the money. I don't really have the budget right now. I am working like crazy. And long story short, I ended up traveling with this guy. Next week, I was just like, boom, going to Morocco. And then the thing is, like, we didn't have a videographer or anything. We were like, I have the idea of what I wanted to do in my head, but I didn't have someone to bring with. And Max, the guy that did the one video before, he's like, that's kind of far, man. I don't know. He was busy. So I was like, you know what? We're going to make it ourselves. We're going to shoot as much as we can. We're going to grab our phones. I have my camera as well. And then we start putting all this stuff. And then there's a guy in the trip that also was, he was a videographer, but he's like, look, I'm doing another video for a different brand, but I don't mind shooting some of the videos here and there. So then we ended up doing it. And there was one particular footage that I wanted to have. It was like us on a camel, right? Like we were going on a camel. And then I asked Jack to just pretend he was drinking coffee on the camel when we were in the middle of the desert. And then that shot was perfectly done. Like if you see one of the videos, he at the end, he's just doing this. And that's most likely one of the most interesting videos we've done. It was so much fun to do it,
So your goal is to like, I would say, like, go on adventures and then film these things, and that's your marketing campaign, which is really cool. It feels organic.
Yeah, I mean, we also wanted to be, the different type of brand. We just don't want to be so like. Rigid, yeah. We wanted it to be cool, I'd say, if you will. But yeah, adventure is a big part of our branding, and traveling and coffee. Why not? Like, I mean, even if you travel anywhere, they're always gonna have coffee anywhere, right?
That's right. And I noticed, like from following your page for the last few weeks, that's like, I got the word adventure in my head without you saying it, really. So I think you're really driving home that message, and that's awesome.
And hopefully it's gonna keep happening. We're gonna try to make more trips. You are invited. Actually, as a matter of fact, why don't we go somewhere else?
Well, Jordan does videos.
Yeah, there you go. So I have an idea to go to a Sahara. You know, maybe we can go and film with zebras and lions, and while we drink coffee. So if you want to do that, we just have to do it. We will look. How about this? How about this? Like, actually, this could be the beginning of the video. So we're gonna be sitting here. We're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna make it happen. So we're gonna go to Africa. We're gonna then make a video of this thing, and I'm gonna rewind it to this conversation, and then this is the part of the slogan of our brand. You know, I don't know if you saw it, but I make it so it says it all started here, right?
All started here, okay.
Because it all started with a conversation. It all starts with, hey, we have this idea. So what about this? And I'm just telling you, and I'm telling you right now, we're gonna go to Africa and we're gonna make this video.
That's incredible.
We got the guy. Obviously, we have to split the cost and all this shit. But imagine the content that we can make off this podcast, going there, having a coffee in front of a zebra and a lion, who knows, you know, and posted it. That would be sick.
That would be crazy. I can't even fathom like how cool that would be.
That would be cool.
First of all, I've never been to Africa, so.
Bro, Charles,
have you?
I just went to Morocco. Just
yes, sorry, yes.
Just that part, but it's a different type of Africa, you know. So
yes.
I am daring you. I'm daring you to go.
Okay.
Coffee or there, man. Like,
I guess we got to take the dare then.
There you go, man. So
I like it. I like it so much.
Just keep stay tuned, because we're probably gonna shoot again. We
got to do something. We got it for sure. For sure.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to that.
You got to call me. Thank you so much again for coming on here. This was a blast. Like, and just hearing your stories, the adventure, the way you started the business, like, that's awesome, man.
Thank you. And also, you know, I want to say that we end that meeting also in a very organic way. So it just happened to be, you know, and then you invited me to do this. It's my first time doing something like this. So thank you, man.
That's cool, man. It's cool. Cheers.
All right, bro.
All right.
Take it easy. Ciao, ciao.